Imagine you're enjoying a night out at a bar or restaurant, having a drink with friends, but what happens next can change lives forever. Every year, thousands of accidents, injuries, and even deaths are caused by intoxicated individuals who are served alcohol at these establishments. From drunk driving crashes to violent altercations, the consequences of over-serving alcohol and ignoring signs of intoxication are far-reaching. This documentary explores a critical issue of liability of restaurants and bars that serve alcohol to patrons who later harm others. In today's society, where public safety, legal accountability, and responsible business practices are more important than ever, these establishments are at the crossroads of safety and risk. Through real-life cases and an in-depth look at the laws surrounding dram shop liability, we'll uncover how these businesses can be held accountable for the actions of their patrons. We'll also highlight the growing responsibility of bars and restaurants to ensure that they are part of the solution, not the problem. As communities demand safer environments and legal frameworks evolve, this documentary seeks to understand the delicate balance between hospitality and harm prevention, undergoing both business and consumers to think more critically about the impact of alcohol consumption. In the past, under English common law, taverns and inns weren't held responsible for what happened after they served alcohol. Defined by legaldictionary.net, common law are laws that are based on court or tribunal decisions which govern future decisions on similar cases. It wasn't until society began seeing the real dangers of intoxication that the law started to change. In the U.S., dram shop laws emerged, making bars, restaurants, and other alcohol-serving businesses accountable if they overserved patrons or served minors. These laws introduced a new legal duty for establishments to keep an eye on their customers, ensuring they don't put others at risk. Today, dram shop laws differ by state, but the goal remains the same: protecting public safety and sharing the responsibility for alcohol-related harm. As mentioned before, English common law refers that tavern owners and innkeepers weren't held responsible for what happened after they served alcohol to patrons. The law didn't recognize that business had a duty to protect others from the consequences of intoxication. Essentially, once a drink was served, the responsibility for any harm fell solely on the individual, not the establishment. The idea of duty of care in English law means that the people or business should take responsible steps to avoid causing harm to others, as paraphrased from the definition from legaldictionary.net. While the duty was well established in many areas, it wasn't applied to alcohol service. The law simply didn't hold bars or inns accountable for the actions of their intoxicated customers. Over time, however, as society began to see the dangers of overserving alcohol, the legal landscape started to change, leading to a shift in how alcohol-serving businesses are held responsible for the safety of their patrons and the public. In the early days of the U.S. law, courts largely followed the English common law approach, which didn't hold bars and restaurants responsible for what their intoxicated patrons did after leaving the premises. The general belief was that once someone consumed alcohol, the responsibility for their actions was on them, not the business that served them. However, this began to change over time. A key turning point came with the 1971 California case Veasley v. Sager. In this case, the court ruled that a bar could be held liable for a car accident caused by a patron who had been overserved alcohol. This is from casetext.com. This was a major shift in legal thinking, recognizing that businesses have a duty to prevent harm when they serve alcohol, especially if they know the patron is already intoxicated. Despite this, many courts were still hesitant to fully embrace the idea of holding establishments accountable, fearing it might lead to too many lawsuits. But the Veasley case opened the door to broader legal reforms, and soon dram shop laws were created in several states, holding bars and restaurants responsible for their role in preventing harm and protecting public safety. In the 19th and early 20th centuries, the temperance movement had a huge impact on how society viewed alcohol. The temperance movement was a social reform movement that pursued many approaches to limit or prohibit the use and/or sale of alcoholic beverages. As the movement pushed for less drinking, it also shined a light on the dangers of excessive alcohol consumption, especially when it led to harm or violence. People began to recognize that bars and taverns weren't just innocent places for socializing, they could be contributing to serious problems. The shift in thinking led several states to pass the first dram shop laws, which held alcohol-serving businesses responsible for the damage caused by their intoxicated patron, as paraphrased from the Legal Information Institute. For the first time, establishments were legally required to ensure they weren't over-serving customers or putting others at risk. This was a major change from the earlier legal approaches, which placed responsibility solely on the individual. By the early 20th century, the laws began to spread, reflecting a new understanding of the role alcohol serving businesses played in public safety. It was a crucial step towards holding these establishments accountable for the part in preventing harm. In the 20th century, landmark legal cases significantly reshaped how courts viewed the responsibility of alcohol serving establishments in relation to intoxicated patrons. Two of the most influential cases were Veasley v. Sager, California 1971, and Kelly v. Gwinnell, New Jersey 1984, both of which holding bars and restaurants accountable for serving visibly intoxicated customers. In Veasley v. Sager, the California Supreme Court ruled that a bar could be held liable for damages that caused by a patron who had been overserved alcohol. The case involved a drunk driver who had been served alcohol at the bar and later caused an accident. The court's decision marked a turning point, recognizing that businesses that serve alcohol have a duty to protect the public from foreseeable harm, including harm caused by intoxicated customers. This case was groundbreaking because it challenged the traditional legal view that once a patron left an establishment, the responsibility was theirs alone. 13 years later, Kelly v. Gwinnell in New Jersey further solidified the concept of liability for alcohol-serving establishments. In this case, a driver who was visibly intoxicated at a private party was allowed to drive home and later caused a fatal accident. The New Jersey Supreme Court ruled that the host who served the alcohol could be held accountable for the death, expanding to the idea of liability beyond just bars and restaurants to include private gatherings by Justia law. The cases helped create a legal framework that recognizes the duty of care owned by alcohol serving businesses. Studies like those by Shearer et al. 2015 highlighted the effectiveness of dram shop laws in reducing alcohol-related crashes and fatalities, showing the lasting impact of these legal precedents. The Veasley and Kelly decisions were pivotal in encouraging business to adopt responsible beverage service practices and help shape the modern landscape of alcohol-related liability. Dram shop laws which hold alcohol-serving establishments accountable for harm caused by intoxicated patrons. This was very significantly across the United States. Some states, like New York, have stringent dram shop laws that impose heavy liability on bars and restaurants for serving visibly intoxicated individuals. In these states, businesses can be sued if they continue to serve alcohol to patrons who are clearly impaired and later cause harm. In contrast, the states like Nevada have more lenient laws, offering less accountability for alcohol-serving businesses unless gross negligence is proven. These differences create varying levels of risk from establishments depending on their location. To successfully pursue a dram shop lawsuit, plaintiffs must prove several key elements. One critical factor is visible intoxication, meaning the patron must exhibit clear signs of impairment, such as slurred speech, unsteady movement, and erratic behavior. Establishing causation is equally important. Plaintiffs must show that the harm caused, such as an accident, was a direct result of the intoxication and the establishment's decision to serve alcohol. In response to these legal procedures, many bars and restaurants have implemented compliance practices to reduce liability. Training programs like TIPS, Training for Intervention Procedures certification, are commonly used to educate staff on how to recognize visible signs of intoxication and handle situations where the customer needs to be cut off. These programs help employees make responsible decisions and protect public safety and reduce the risk of legal claims. Insurance also plays a crucial role in safeguarding businesses from potential dram shop lawsuits. By carrying dram shop liability insurance, establishments can protect themselves from the financial burden of lawsuits while ensuring that they comply with the state laws. As discussed by Barry and Erickson, 2024, training and insurance are key components to managing the practical implications of dram shop liability. Stricter dram shop laws have had a positive impact on public safety by encouraging bars and restaurants to adopt safer alcohol serving practices. With the threat of legal liability hanging over them, establishments have become more diligent about recognizing the signs of intoxication and cutting off customers before they reach dangerous levels of impairment. The shift in approach has led to fewer alcohol-related accidents and injuries. Data supports this change. Studies like one by Schreiner et al. 2015 show that states with strong dram shop laws see noticeable reduction in fatal crashes caused by drunk driving. Alcohol-serving businesses in these states are more proactive in preventing intoxicated patrons from getting behind the wheel, helping to save lives. The benefits go beyond just road safety. In places with rigorous enforcement, incidents of violence and other harmful behaviors caused by intoxicated individuals have also decreased. By holding businesses accountable for their role in preventing intoxication-related harm, these laws have created a culture of responsibility within the alcohol service industry. Ultimately, stronger dram shop laws have made communities safer. Bars and restaurants are now more committed to responsible service, leading to fewer alcohol-related accidents and a better environment for everyone. These laws not only protect the public but also encourage businesses to contribute positively to the safety and well-being of their communities. Recent legislative trends show that our views on dram shop liability are evolving in response to growing concerns about public safety and accountability. In some states, lawmakers are looking to expand liability, making businesses more accountable not just for serving intoxicated patrons, but for those who show clear signs of impairment. This shift reflects society's increasing desire for responsibility, especially when it comes to preventing alcohol-related accidents and violence. However, there are also states moving to limit liability, often in an effort to protect businesses from an overwhelming number of lawsuits and the burden of over-regulation. Looking toward the future, technology has a major impact on how alcohol service is regulated. Innovations like apps that track signs of intoxication through facial recognition or behavior monitoring could help businesses identify when a patron is at risk of harm. These advancements could influence future laws, providing businesses with tools to protect both their customers and themselves from legal repercussions. As we consider these changes, it's critical to strike the right balance between ensuring public safety and maintaining fair liability for businesses. While it's essential to hold establishments accountable for their role in preventing harm, we also need to make sure that businesses aren't unfairly burdened, especially when they're trying to act responsibly. Ultimately, the question remains, what will the future role of alcohol serving businesses in promoting social responsibility? How can they help create a safer society while adapting to the changing legal and technological landscape? This is the challenge ahead as we continue to navigate the intersection of law, business, and public safety.